Hey guys, in today's video I want to talk about Sylvester Stallone, his upcoming movies in 2020 and beyond. Can you believe this man's going to be 74 this year? Age clearly does not slow him down. Oh, do me a favor by the way, smash that like button, just destroy it the way Rambo would after he found out Murdoch betrayed him in Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Murdoch, I'm coming to get you.
So the first movie I want to talk about is actually the only one coming out this year. It was originally slated for November 20th of 2020, but has been moved to December 11th. Either way, still in time just for Christmas. It's called Samaritan. It's a dark take on the superhero genre. After the success of Joker, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more superhero films venture into and explore that darker territory. Thanks, Joaquin. Now, the story is set 20 years after an epic battle left the city's villain and hero missing, or worse. There's little else known aside from the fact that a young boy searches for the legendary superhero. Stallone plays Stanley Kaminsky, a sanitation worker trying to live a normal life while harboring a dark secret. It's a safe bet that he's probably the missing hero. As far as the antagonist goes, that's played by Johan Asbeck, along with Natasha Karam, who plays a dangerous and unpredictable henchperson to the main villain. The movie is directed by Julius Avery, who most recently wrote and directed 2018's Overlord. I haven't seen that movie myself, but let me know in the comments section if you have and if it's any good. The synopsis certainly sounds interesting. It's a small group of American soldiers find horror behind enemy lines on the eve of D-Day. As far as Samaritan goes, in addition to starring in the film, Stallone will also act as a producer through his company Balboa Productions. Balboa Productions formed last year and seems to be off to a pretty good start. Braden Aftergood, the executive in charge of scripted development at Balboa Productions, says, "My goal is for us to be the go-to place for action. I appreciate that statement is grandiose, but Blumhouse has done an extraordinary job owning the horror space. There's no reason why we can't own the action space in a similar way." Stallone himself gets a bit more specific about what he's looking for, saying this, "I like stories that deal with modern-day mythology, which is pretty much what Marvel is. You take situations like the trope of the loner, the stranger in town, and you watch them cope with the forces that be. To me, that's very intriguing. That plays out in the genesis of the Western, all the way out to the horror genre. The situations like the trope of the loner, the stranger in town, watching him cope with the forces that be, that's First Blood, that's Rambo Part 1 all the way. These are literally the kind of stories that Stallone himself fell in love with 40 years ago when he made Rambo 1. In case you're wondering, this is not the first time Sylvester Stallone is playing a superhero on screen. In 1995, he played the title character in Judge Dredd, and more recently in 2017, he had a small role in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where he played a character by the name of Stakar Ogard. Now, although this was a small part, it does set up the possibility of a much larger role for him down the line in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In Guardians Volume 2, Stallone's character is a respected leader of the Ravagers, a gang of the space pirates from the first film. Now in the comics, the character is also known as Starhawk, a hero who has worked alongside the Fantastic Four as well as Thor, and it's likely we'll see him as Starhawk sometime in the future. Hey, let me know in the comments section, by the way, if you're excited to see Stallone appear as Starhawk in the future films with Marvel, and what do you guys think about Samaritan? So the next film Stallone is slated for is currently in pre-production and likely to start filming this summer, in 2020. It's called Little America, and it's set in a dystopian future where America is a bankrupt wasteland. Stallone plays a former Army Ranger hired by an Asian billionaire to find the man's daughter in Little America, a walled-off ghetto within Hong Kong where expat Americans have fled. The film really sounds like John Carpenter's Escape from New York and Escape from LA. Those were also sci-fi actioners where the hero was sent in on a rescue mission within a walled-off, crime-ridden, crumbling section of America. Speaking of Escape from New York, a remake of that movie has been on the cards for years but never gotten off the ground, so perhaps Little America can fill that gap for the time being. In the film, Stallone is teaming up with the highly skilled sister of the missing woman along for the ride, so it'll be fun watching Sly's Ranger navigate that dark underbelly of Little America. Michael Bay is executive producing, so you can expect some big glossy action. He's known for directing and producing numerous hits such as Armageddon, The Rock, the latest Ninja Turtles movie, and numerous Transformers films. Little America is going to be directed by Rowan Athale, who most recently directed Strange But True, which tells the story of a woman who, 5 years after the tragic death of her boyfriend, arrives on the doorstep of his family to tell them she is pregnant with his child. Though skeptical, the family find themselves trying to prove her right, only to discover that the truth is much more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. That certainly sounds intriguing. I'll have to add that to my watch list. Let me know in the comments section if you guys seen it and what you think about that film.
You got me curious.
As far as Little America goes, there's certainly already a lot of buzz and excitement and confidence in the film, as international buyers at Berlin's European film market went wild for Little America, as a lot of the international distribution rights already pre-sold, proving that Stallone certainly still has it, riding that Creed 2 and Rambo Last Blood momentum for sure. So what do you guys think of Little America? Personally, I think it sounds like a lot of fun, and I'll certainly be there to see it opening weekend.
You got me curious, Rock.
Next on the docket would be the long overdue Expendables 4. This has been in development for years now, with Part 3 coming out nearly 6 years ago. And while the series did suffer from franchise fatigue with the new one being released every other year, the bigger issue I found with Part 3 were twofold. One, it was PG-13. How are you going to get the most amazing action heroes of the 80s and 90s from R-rated movies watered down for PG-13 audiences? And two, the whole appeal of the Expendables are these action legends. We want more of them, not less. Like when they brought the amazing Jean-Claude Van Damme aboard for Part 2. Instead, we got a new younger team that the audience for this film just doesn't really give a crap about. At least we got Wesley Snipes and Antonio Banderas. That was pretty cool. But did we really need Frazier? Talk about scraping the bottom of that 90s barrel of people who were relevant back then. Now, I'm still waiting for Steven Seagal to show up, perhaps in Part 4. As far as fans go, I know many of you would love to see Keanu Reeves. Expendables could really use John Wick to help give the franchise a much-needed shot in the arm. Let me know in the comments section who you'd like to see in Part 4. And speaking of Part 4, it's still really early in development and there's not even a storyline out there as of now. But in the interim, there is a graphic novel where the team of Expendables go straight to hell. It only seems fitting. The potential seems pretty insane and is definitely more suited towards a graphic novel than feature film. The graphic novel has been co-written by Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Dixon with art by Graham Nolan. If you couldn't tell by the title, the story takes place after the team of Expendables has been killed in action and find themselves in the middle of a raging battle that has been going on for eternity in, you guessed it, hell. Here, the team will run into some rather evil historical figures. For example, in the sample artwork, we see our hero Barney Ross in a fistfight with none other than Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, and Joseph Stalin. The concept is certainly over the top, but well suited for a graphic novel. At the very least, this should help keep fans happy and certainly keep people continuing to talk about this franchise until we finally get more concrete info on the next film. Now, Creed 3 is currently in development, but Stallone has said numerous times now that he no longer feels a need to take part in that franchise. Although Stallone initially got me and a lot of other fans excited about the spin-off series, I do agree with him. As much as I'd like to see him in Part 3, Michael B. Jordan is certainly strong enough to lead himself to continue that franchise alone. But the only reason I don't mind this happening is because we have not seen the last of Rocky. Stallone has talked about Rocky 7, or Rocky Balboa 2, or who knows what they'll end up calling it. Here's an interview he did with Collider somewhat recently.
Any last thoughts about Rocky Balboa? Are we going to see Rocky Balboa again?
I'm right on the cusp there. I really have a good story. It's whether, it's Rocky. See, the thing is, Rocky outside. I'm probably done with Creed. I am done with Creed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. There's nothing more I can do there.
Okay.
But
yeah, that fist bump was the end.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Ciao. But I have a thing that really it's politically, we would say, vital right now.
Oh.
It's that too. It's right on the edge. Also, it deals also with a foreign country, and well, you've heard a little bit about it, and they want it badly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, should I do this? Because making a Rocky film, and when people, like Michael goes, I want to direct Creed, I go, think very carefully about this.
Yeah.
Because you will now have 2 years of no life.
Right.
And no guarantee it's going to be a hit. And if you don't find, I was blessed 3 times with Mr. T, Carl Weathers, and Dolph. These are so rare. I cannot tell you, John, how hard it is to find someone. I can get Big Bear, a huge man, but someone that visually, you go, he doesn't have to say a word. I get it.
Right.
I'm terrified I wouldn't get in that ring. Or Carl Weathers, there's no better film fighter as a boxer than Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
I have some 40 minutes of him, with 8mm. It's a miracle. He's not a boxer.
Yeah.
I said, thank God I found this guy. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So the basic premise for Rocky 7 is that Rocky Balboa would be training a young street fighter who is illegally living in America. The young fighter is angry. He's someone who got stuck in this country when he came to see his sister. Rocky takes him into his life, and an unbelievable adventure takes place that sees him south of the border. Stallone said that's very, very timely, and he also confirmed that based on this scenario that the movie would tackle immigration issues in the U.S. This certainly sounds like the premise of the very underrated Rocky V with the very timely element of the immigration issues occurring in America right now. What do you guys think about Rocky V, by the way? Do you agree that it's underrated? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, how excited are you about a new Rocky film? So next I want to talk about another one of Stallone's most iconic franchises, none other than Rambo. 2019's Rambo 5 was originally going to be a monster movie. Instead, in Rambo Last Blood, we got Stallone battling the Mexican cartel after his friend's daughter is kidnapped for human trafficking purposes. Interestingly, there is sort of a horror element to that film, as Rambo's man cave becomes somewhat of a sadistic house of horrors, where his objective is not justice against the cartel, but rather vengeance, with the motivation to inflict as much pain as he can against his enemies. With the success of Rambo Last Blood, there's no reason why we can't see our favorite Vietnam vet ride again in a new outing. The preliminary title for Rambo 6 would be A Savage Hunt and would take place in the Pacific Northwest, maybe inspired by all those Bigfoot sightings over there perhaps. There's a pretty good article written up about it on the website Bloody Disgusting. It seems that somewhere in that area, there is a U.S. military installation that's doing experiments on elite soldiers as part of some sort of program where they're attempting to tap into that savagery that we have deeply embedded in all of us. Now, there were rumors that this was going to be somewhat like Universal Soldier, but Stallone has squashed those rumors back in 2009. He clarified, it's going to be more of a Predator-type monster movie. He stated, "It's not a Universal Soldier. It's not me fighting a super soldier. It's actually a feral beast. It's a thing. It's this amalgamation of fury and intelligence and pure unadulterated rage. It's before men became human. This is when they were still inhuman, and so what Rambo confronts is something that is everyone's nightmare." Stallone continued, "Rambo's going against a feral beast that has absolute cunning and intelligence and a will to survive that is only matched by Rambo's. And that's what makes it uniquely different. Man's conscious fighting his dark, dangerous, uncontrollable subconscious. It's very similar to the plot in Forbidden Planet, when the doctor couldn't control his mind and his subconscious took over and became a savage killing machine. It's your worst nightmare. You're battling your primitive self." According to reports, the Savage Hunt's plot was inspired by James Byron Huggins' 1999 novel Hunter, which Stallone had at one point acquired the rights to. Now, in that novel, a beast, a half-human abomination created by a renegade agency through a series of outlawed genetic experiments, is loose somewhere north of the Arctic Circle, and a tracker by the name of Nathaniel Hunter is tasked with taking it down before it reaches civilization. This sounds really awesome. So, at the end of Last Blood, we see Rambo bloodily ride off into the sunset. Perhaps his next adventure will see him come face to face with this savage beast. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Would this make for a great Rambo plot or what? So those are the films Stallone currently has in the works. He's going to be busy. He's going to keep producing great content for us all, entertaining us. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section as far as what you're most looking forward to seeing. And as always, thanks for watching and make sure to subscribe. Oh, and if you haven't yet, hit that smash button, or that like button. Smash the like button. That's what I meant.